In the previous video, we have seen that in this particular setup, where the kings are still far apart, if it's black's turn to act, then black can position itself in direct opposition to white. In indirect opposition to white, and thereby achieve a draw. If black goes to e8, black has distant opposition against white because there are 3 squares apart, and then no matter what white does, it'll be a draw. If white tries to get closer, then black will move 1 square closer, and there will be 1 square between the two kings, and they will be directly opposed to each other with white's turn to move, and so it'll be a draw. So this is if it's black's turn to act. However, in this case, it's white's turn to act, and so white is going to win this game because black cannot get distant opposition against white and prevent white from getting to one of the critical squares, which is 2 ranks in front of the pawn if the pawn is on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th rank. In our case, since the pawn is on the 4th rank, then what white wants to do is get to the one of these 3 squares, either e6, d6, or c6. And on a quick view, white notices that the only square that it can get to is the c6 square, because the other squares will be controlled by black on the next move. Black will move to e7, and black will control the e6 and the d6 square. So white is going for the c6 square. Now the truth is that white doesn't need to go for the c6 square directly, because white also has the option of simply assuming the distant opposition against black, and eventually black is going to be forced to relinquish control, and white will be able to exercise a turning maneuver, as we have seen in previous videos. But the most direct approach to winning this game for white is to simply go for the c6 square, control the outside critical square of this 4th rank pawn, and thereby achieve a win. So let's see how this plays out. We have several options here for white, and first we're going to see the winning option, the most direct route to winning the game. White moves to d5 in front of the pawn. Black tries to prevent white from getting to one of the critical squares, but black is not close enough. White gets to the c6 square, and now this is a sign of a win, because white controls a critical square for a 4th rank pawn, which is one of those 3 squares, 2 ranks in front of the pawn. It's got to be e6, d6, or c6. So this is a win for white. Let's just see how it plays out. White assumes the position again against black, and this is it. Game over. Okay, so this is no good for black. Another way for white to win, and this sounds really counterintuitive, but white is actually moving away from the pawn and is not even moving any closer to the action. But this is actually a winning play, because as you can notice, white has the distant opposition against black. So no matter where black moves, white will be able to maintain that opposition on the next move. And in this particular case, where white will have the opposition, white will be able to exercise a turning maneuver, as we have seen in previous videos. And that turning maneuver ensures that white will be able to ultimately, down the road, will be able to get to one of the critical squares on the 6th rank, even if it cannot get there right away. So let's see how this plays out. White is trying to run into the action and control the critical square, but white opposes black on the e-file, being 1 square apart. So this is a classical oppositional play, and now black continues along the files, but white continues to oppose black, and now this is called the turning maneuver, where white has an opportunity to move into the 6th rank, and now white controls a critical square, and so now white is ensured a win. So even though this seems a little silly, this move, moving into the f4 square, it's actually a winning play. Even though it's less direct than moving into the d5 square, it's still a winning move. What white needs to remember is that it needs to, it actually can focus on 2 things, but the main focus should be in trying to get to a critical square, okay, the E, B, or C6 square. But white also knows, if you're an experienced player and you want to be a little fancy, then if you play f4, you also know that on the next move, you will be able to have direct opposition against black on the 5th rank, no matter what black does. And once you have opposition against black on one of the ranks in front of the pawn, the turning maneuver will force black to give up ground, and you will be able to occupy a critical square in the 6th rank. So that's also a winning play. Now let's see some of the plays that are no good for white. Let's see if white moves to f5. Okay, this is no good. This is a wrong play. Okay, this is a losing play, because now black opposes white, and no matter what white does, black will continue to oppose white file by file. White moves to e file, black follows on e file. White moves to d, black follows. There's nothing white can do to exercise that turning maneuver, because white does not have a chance to turn. White will constantly be faced by black, blocking white's advance into the 6th file. And as we know from our previous lessons, that white needs to control a critical square on the 6th rank before it advances a pawn on the 4th rank. And therefore, white cannot win this game. It's no good. So this is just playing out this scenario, but it really doesn't matter, because no matter what black does, it's a losing game. I mean, it's a draw. Okay, so here we have one final option, also a losing option for white. That's if white moves to e5. Once again, this is a losing option, because once again, white is allowing black to oppose it by moving into e7. So white has lost focus. White is not concentrating on controlling a critical square. White is just making an aimless, clueless play, and white is not going to win this game. It's a drawn game, and this is done very recklessly, because no matter what white does, black will oppose white file by file, and white will never be able to exercise a turning maneuver to try to control the 6th rank.